You know that feeling when the world just keeps pushing and all you want is one quiet corner to call your own? That was me, Tom Brennan, standing on the edge of Clearwater Lake, staring at the water that held every good memory I had left. After losing my wife, Ellie, and our daughter, Mia, in a wreck that tore my life apart, this lake was the only place that didn't scream their absence. I come back here to this little slice of nowhere in northern Michigan after the worst year of my life. The lake wasn't just water. It was where Ellie and I used to paddle out at dawn, her laughing as she splashed me with the oar, where Mia caught her first perch and squealed like she'd won the lottery. I inherited this place from my uncle, Ray, a grizzled old water engineer who bought the land back in the 70s. He didn't just own the lake. He built it, shaped the basin, rigged a hidden drainage system, made it his. And when he passed it to me, it became mine. No signs, no fences, just a dirt road through the pines and a cabin that smelled like cedar and thyme. I thought I could just hole up here, chop wood, drink coffee, let the grief settle like dust. But then the letter showed up. It was tucked in my mailbox. No return address, just Silver Pines HOA in crisp font, like they were serving me a court summons. Notice of community enhancement. It said, declaring my lake a shared recreational asset. Shared? I nearly choked on my coffee. Who the hell decided that? The letter went on about some fancy plan to elevate the waterfront experience with a private developer. At the bottom, in fine print, construction permits pending. My lake, my land, and they thought they could just claim it. I tore the letter up, burned it in the fireplace, figured it was some clerical screw-up. But 2 weeks later, I heard motors on the water. I was on my porch, nursing a mug, when a pontoon boat drifted out, carrying two guys in khakis and sunglasses, poking around with measuring rods like they owned the place. I hollered from the dock, "You're trespassing." They just waved, all neighborly, like I was inviting them to a barbecue. Next day, orange survey flags popped up along the shore, and a sign appeared, nailed to a tree, approved for floating pavilion development. Silver Pines HOA. I called the number on it. Straight to voicemail. I wasn't some clueless hermit. I've been a civil engineer for 20 years, knew my way around deeds and permits. So I drove to the county office, my uncle's old surveys and the property deed in hand. The clerk, a tired woman named Janet, pulled up the records and shrugged. "You own it, Mr. Brennan. No shared rights. No HOA claim." I nodded, drove home, thought that'd be the end of it. But the next week, a flatbed truck rolled in, not even on the main road, but through an old trail on my land. They unloaded beams, barrels, and a pre-built platform that looked like it belonged in a marina, not my lake. By noon, workers were bolting it together, right in the middle of the water. I called the sheriff. Deputy Kyle, a kid I vaguely remembered from town, showed up, scratched his head, and talked to the crew. He came back with a weak shrug. They say the HOA approved it. I can't stop them without a court order. I stared at him. They're building on my property, Kyle. He mumbled something about a property dispute process and left, telling me not to escalate. Escalate? They were the ones planting a damn restaurant in my lake. That night, I couldn't sleep. I went down to the dock, opened the old hatch to the underground vault Ray had shown me years ago. It was a concrete bunker, damp and cold, housing a sluice gate that controlled the lake's outflow to a hidden channel under the ridge. Ray had built it to manage water levels, to keep the lake alive. I touched the rusted wheel, felt its weight. I wasn't ready to turn it not yet, but something in me shifted. They thought I was just a sad old man, too broken to fight. They were wrong. The next few days were quiet, suspiciously so. No trucks, no hammering. I almost thought they'd backed off. Then one morning, I stepped onto the dock with my binoculars and saw it. A massive floating platform, tethered with steel cables, right in the center of my lake. It wasn't just a platform. Anymore there were beams, walls, a roof frame. They were building a full-on restaurant, complete with spotlights that glared into my cabin at night. I stood there, thermos cold in my hand, watching my sanctuary turn into their theme park. I dug out Ray's old blueprints, found a 1974 water rights registration. Clear as day. The lake was mine, no shared access, no HOA nonsense. I emailed it to a lawyer friend, Mike, who got back to me in hours. They're screwed, Tom. Send a cease and desist, cite the title. If they don't stop, we'll hit them with an injunction. I printed the letter, drove to the HOA's shiny new office, and handed it to a receptionist who looked at me like I was a nuisance. As I turned to leave, a woman stepped out, Lisa Carver, interim HOA president, all sharp blazer and sharper smirk. Mr. Brennan, she said, sizing me up like I was a stray dog. I hear you're upset about the lake. Upset? I kept my voice steady. You're trespassing on my property, Lisa. That's my lake. Her smile didn't budge. We have documentation that says it's a community resource. I'd love to see it, I shot back, because the county doesn't. She folded her arms. Our lawyers will review your letter, but this project's moving forward. It's what the community wants. Then you've got 48 hours to pull it off my lake, or I'll make sure a judge does. I walked out, my heart pounding, not with fear, but with a rage I hadn't felt in years. Back home, I started documenting everything: drone shots, photos, videos of their tethers bolted into my bluff. I called the zoning board, met with a local blogger, Karen, who made a name exposing shady HOAs. She was all in, said she'd run a story. But every morning, I woke to more progress on their damn restaurant walls, windows, a deck. They even threw a preview party, complete with fairy lights and champagne, while I watched from my bluff, fists clenched, their laughter echoing like a taunt. Then came a night that broke me. At 2 a.m., their test-run speakers blared music so loud my cabin shook. I grabbed a megaphone, stormed to the dock, and shouted, "Cut it out, or I'm pressing charges." Someone yelled back, "Go to bed, old man." That was it. The next morning, I went to the vault with a wrench and a plan. Ray's notes were clear. Open the gates slowly, an inch an hour, and the lake would drain smooth as a whisper. I cleaned the valve, tested it. It groaned but turned. A low hum vibrated through the pipe. The water was moving. I didn't sleep that night. I launched my drone, recorded the restaurant sitting pretty oblivious. At 12:07 a.m., I drafted an email to Lisa and her board. Urgent. Drainage active. You've built on my lake. Evacuate now. I scheduled it for 5:30 a.m. when it'd be too late. By 3 a.m., the water was down 6 inches. By 5, the restaurant was tilting, its tethers straining. By sunrise, it was chaos, workers shouting, furniture sliding, the platform listing like a sinking ship. Karen's blog post went live at 6:02 a.m. HOA's illegal restaurant collapses as owner drains lake. The news picked it up. My phone blew up. Lisa called 5 times. I didn't answer. By noon, the lake was a mudflat, the restaurant a twisted wreck. Lisa gave a teary statement to the press, calling it sabotage. The reporter pushed back. But he owns the lake, right? She stammered. That's under review. It wasn't. The judge had already granted my injunction, barring all HOA activity. They were liable for everything: trespass, damages, the works. I didn't cheer. I just stood on my dock, breathing the silt-heavy air, feeling the quiet return. The fallout was fast. 3 board members quit. Residents demanded refunds. Lisa's car slowed by my cabin one day. I stared her down, and she didn't wave. The lake started to heal, inch by inch, as rain and springs brought the water back. A young couple from a neighborhood stopped by with a painting of the lake, subtle shadows of Ellie and Mia in the sky. I hung it over my fireplace, next to Mia's old fishing hat. The final hearing was a slaughter. The judge ruled for me on every count. Lisa had to pay restitution herself. She whispered as she passed me in the courthouse, "You could have just said no." I looked her in the eye. I did. That summer, I rebuilt the dock, board by board, and invited a few neighbors over, good ones like the Thompsons who'd back me up. We grilled, laughed, watched the stars reflect on the water. Someone asked if I'd ever build on the lake again. I shook my head. It's perfect as it is. Looking back, it wasn't about revenge. It was about holding on to what's mine of me: memories, my family, my peace. The HOA thought they could take it, thought I'd roll over. But one guy, just one, can stop a tidal wave of arrogance if he stands his ground. Now, I'm curious, what do you think? Was I right to drain the lake, or did I go too far? Drop a comment, tell me your stories. Ever had a fight for what's yours? Let's hear it.